The Alpha's greatest enemy isn't an outside threat. It's a forgotten past returning with a vengeance. This isn't just about survival. It's about a primal force dismantling his carefully constructed future, piece by agonizing piece. Get ready as we plunge into the heart of a conflict where one man's forgotten secrets could doom an entire pack. They said an Alpha's strength was measured by how still the forest became when he stepped into it. When Kael moved, the night listened. The wind folded itself around his shoulders like a cloak. Leaves ceased their nervous chatter. Even the insects, those tireless witnesses of the dark, went quiet as if something older than fear had passed among them. Kael of Blackridge Pack did not need to bare his fangs to command obedience. His presence alone bent spines and softened knees. Wolves lowered their heads when he walked past, not from submission alone, but from reverence. He was carved from the old blood, broad-shouldered, scar-laced. His eyes a molten amber that caught the moonlight and held it hostage. To the pack he was certainty. To the land he was law. Tonight, he stood at the cliff's edge overlooking Blackridge territory. The world unfurled beneath him in silver and shadow. Pines stretched like an army of spears. Rivers cut dark veins through the earth. Somewhere far below, a wolf howled, sharp, brief, then silenced by instinct when it realized who stood above. Kael inhaled. Pine sap. Cold stone. Wolf. And beneath it, blood. Not fresh. Not present. But remembered. His jaw tightened. Had been happening more often lately. Scents that did not exist. Sounds that arrived without permission. A pressure behind his eyes, like claws scraping from the inside of his skull. He rolled his shoulders, dismissing it. An Alpha did not indulge weakness. Not his own. Behind him, boots crunched against gravel. Borders are quiet, said Ren, his second. Loyal. Sharp-eyed. Dangerous in the way only a wolf who knew restraint could be. Too quiet. Kael didn't turn. Quiet isn't a crime. No, Ren agreed. But it's rarely innocent. That earned a faint smirk. Kael finally looked back, moonlight sliding across his face. You're paid to worry. I'm unpaid and cursed with foresight. Kael exhaled through his nose, almost a laugh. Report. Ren stepped closer, lowering his voice. Eastern mockers were disturbed. Again. Not crossed. Just pressed. Like something tested them. Kael's spine stiffened before he could stop it. Pressed. How? Ren hesitated. As if by force. Not claws. Not teeth. Something heavier. Something older. Whispered a voice that did not belong to him. Kael shut it out. Double the patrols, he said. Rotate shifts every 4 hours. No lone wolves. Ren nodded but didn't leave. There's more. Course there was. The animals are migrating wrong, Ren continued. Deer moving north. Ravens circling the western ruins. And the pups. Kael's head snapped up. What about them? They're dreaming, Ren said quietly. All of them. Same dream. Fire in the ground. A wolf with no face. Silence dropped like a blade. Kael turned back to the forest. His hands curled into fists at his sides. A wolf with no face. The words scraped something loose inside him. A memory, half-rotted, half-buried, shifted in its grave. That's all, Kael said too quickly. Go. Ren studied him, eyes narrowing just a fraction. Then he bowed his head and obeyed. Alpha first. Questions later. When Kael was alone again, the night exhaled. The moon rose higher, full and merciless. That was when the dream came for him. He stood barefoot in ash. The sky was wrong, red and low, pressing down like a wound that refused to clot. The ground beneath him pulsed, alive, slick with heat. Every step burned. He smelled iron. He smelled fear. And beneath it, guilt. A howl split the air behind him. Not pain. Not rage. Judgment. Kael turned. The wolf emerged from the smoke, massive beyond reason. Its body was a silhouette of muscle and shadow, fur rippling as if made from moving night. Where its face should have been, there was nothing, just a hollow void that swallowed the light. "You remember," the thing said, though its mouth did not move. Kael reached for his claws. They didn't come. "This isn't real," he growled. The faceless wolf stepped closer. Each footfall cracked the earth. "You named me once." A pressure slammed into Kael's chest, stealing his breath. "I don't know you." Laughter echoed, not sound but sensation, like bone grinding against bone. "You made me." The ground split open. Fire roared upward. Kael screamed. He woke with a violent gasp, bolts of pain shooting through his skull. Moonlight spilled across his chambers, pale and cold. His sheets were twisted, damp with sweat. The scent of smoke clung to his skin though there was no fire. Kael sat upright, chest heaving. Dream. Just a dream. And yet, his heart thundered as if he had run for miles. His hands shook when he raised them to his face. For a moment, he didn't recognize the scar across his knuckles. That terrified him more than the dream ever could. By dawn the pack felt it. Wolves snapped at each other over nothing. Patrols reported phantom sounds. Footsteps where no one stood, breathing behind their ears. The elders muttered about old laws and older sins. Kael called council before the sun fully cleared the treeline. They gathered in the stone hall, a ring of power and tension. Warriors. Elders whose fur had silvered with age and memory. Every eye followed Kael as he took the central dais. He stood tall, unyielding. But the primal force stirred beneath his skin, restless. "We are being tested," Kael said. His voice carried effortlessly, a weapon honed by years of command. Not invaded, not challenged, tested. Murmurs rippled. "This land has enemies," an elder said. "Always has." "Yes," Kael replied. "And we have always answered." Was heavy, measured. "No wolf crosses our borders without consequence. No spirit trespasses without blood. These are the laws written before any of us drew breath." Approval followed, relief even. But one voice cut through it. "And if the threat comes from within?" The hall stilled. Kael's gaze locked onto the speaker. A young warrior, bold and foolish, courage still unscarred by loss. "Speak carefully," Kael warned. The wolf swallowed, then lifted his chin. "The land reacts to you, Alpha. The dreams began when you began pacing the borders. The markers weren't disturbed before." Kael moved. In a blink, he was off the dais, fingers locked around the warrior's throat, lifting him clear off the ground. Stone cracked beneath Kael's feet. The hall erupted, but one look from Kael froze them all. His eyes burned. "Never mistake coincidence for cause," Kael said softly. "And never forget who keeps your heart beating." He released the warrior, who collapsed coughing. Kael straightened, breathing hard. For a heartbeat, fear flickered through the hall. Not of an enemy, of their alpha. Kael felt it, and it cut deeper than any blade. That night, the western ruins awakened. Stone groaned as something ancient shifted beneath it. The earth split not with fire, but with memory. And far above, Alpha Kael stood alone once more, staring into the dark, unaware that the past he buried had finally learned how to walk back home. The first blood was spilled at dawn. Not in battle, not in defense, in fear. A patrol found the body near the western stream. What was left of it? A stag torn open from throat to belly, ribs split wide as if something had reached inside and searched. The flesh was gray at the edges, the blood thick and blackened, steaming despite the cold morning air. Ren crouched beside it, nostrils flaring. "This wasn't hunger," he said. Kael stood over the carcass, arms crossed, gaze unreadable. "Predators kill how they kill." Ren shook his head slowly. "Not like this." The scent told the truth before the eyes could fully understand it. No pack mark, no foreign wolf, no known beast. Only a pressure in the air, Heavy, oppressive, like the land itself was holding its breath. Kael felt it crawl along his spine. "Burn it," Kael ordered. Ren looked up sharply. "Burn it. Now." Fire erased evidence. Fire silenced questions. The flames roared higher than they should have, snapping hungrily at the sky. As the smoke rose, Kael swore. He heard something sigh in satisfaction beneath the crackle of burning flesh. He turned away before anyone could see his expression. By midday the pack was restless. Wolves argued over patrol assignments. Two fighters nearly came to blows over a shared water source, something that had never happened before. Even the elders whispered more than usual, their voices sharp with unease. Kael felt every fracture like a splinter under his skin. An alpha was meant to anchor his pack. His presence should calm the blood, still the air, remind them who they were. Instead, wherever Kael walked, the ground felt tighter, as if bracing. He tried to meditate at the stone circle, an ancient place where alphas before him had sought clarity. He knelt, palms pressed to cold rock, eyes shut. "Breathe in. Breathe out. Wolf. Wolfa. Wolf." The whispers came anyway. "You hear them now. They feel you breaking. Just like before." Kael's eyes snapped open. There was no one there. Only the stones. Only the scars. He slammed his fist into the rock. Pain flared, grounding him. Blood welled from split skin. But pain was real. Pain was now. Not memory. The dreams worsened. Sleep no longer came quietly. It dragged him under like a riptide. Each time the faceless wolf was closer. Each time the ash burned hotter. And always the same question. Why did you run? Kael began avoiding rest. He paced the borders through the night, ignoring the fatigue clawing at his muscles. Wolves watched him from a distance, their eyes glowing in the dark, uncertain whether to follow or flee. Ren confronted him on the third night. "You're not sleeping." Kael didn't slow his stride. "Neither are you. I'm not alpha." That stopped him. Ren stepped into Kael's path, unafraid. Loyal to the bone, but loyalty had teeth when sharpened by truth. "The pack feels it," Ren said. "Whatever's happening, it's tied to you. You can't keep pretending otherwise." Kael's jaw flexed. "Careful." "I am," Ren replied. "That's why I'm saying this before someone else does." Silence stretched. Kael looked past him, toward the western ruins, dark against the horizon. "I have carried this pack through war and famine," Kael said quietly. "I have bled for this land. I will not be questioned like a frightened pup." Ren's voice softened. "Then don't face it like one. Tell me what you're seeing." For a moment, just a moment, Kael almost spoke. He tasted the words, felt them burn his tongue. Then the ground shuddered. A howl tore through the air, not from a throat but from the earth itself. Ancient. Wolves dropped to their knees. Kael staggered as pain lanced through his skull, white-hot. Images slammed into him. Fire, blood, a younger version of himself screaming another wolf's name. "No," he whispered. The air thickened. Shadows lengthened unnaturally, bleeding together until the forest seemed to fold inward. And then, it stood at the edge of the clearing. The faceless wolf. Not a dream. Not memory. Real. Its form dwarfed the trees, fur woven from darkness and smoke. Where its eyes should have been was an endless void that pulled at Kael's soul like gravity. The pack cowered. Some whimpered. Others fled. Ren drew his blade. "Alpha, what is that?" The thing tilted its head. "It remembers you," it said, voice vibrating through bone and soil alike. Kael stepped forward before he could stop himself. "I don't fear you," he growled. The wolf laughed. "You taught me fear." The land cracked beneath its weight. The ruins groaned in response, stones awakening as if greeting an old master. "Long ago," the primal force continued, "you chose survival over truth, power over balance." Kael's chest burned. His vision blurred. "What did you do?" Ren demanded, horror creeping into his voice. The faceless wolf loomed closer. "Ask him," it purred. "Ask him what he buried under the ruins. Ask him whose blood sealed the pact." Kael roared and shifted. Bones snapping. Skin tearing. Wolf bursting free. His form was massive, silver-black, scarred. A true alpha in his prime. He lunged, slamming into the primal force with earth-shaking force. They clashed like gods. Claws raked. Shadows bled. The forest screamed. But Kael felt it then. The truth. Every strike weakened him. Every movement fed the thing he fought. Because it wasn't just his enemy. It was his sin. With a brutal swipe, the primal force threw Kael aside. He crashed through trees, skidding across stone. Ren ran to him. "Kael!" The faceless wolf lowered its head, voice echoing. "You cannot kill what you created." And then, just as suddenly as it appeared, sank back into the earth. Silence followed. Kael lay still, chest heaving, blood dark against his fur. Pack stared. Not with reverence. With doubt. With fear. Ren helped Kael to his feet, but the damage was done. An elder stepped forward, voice trembling. "Alpha, what have you brought upon us?" Kael looked at their faces. Wolves who trusted him, followed him, believed in him. And he knew. The shadow had not come to destroy the pack. It had come to expose him. Kael did not speak for 3 days. Not to the elders. Not to the warriors. Not even to Ren. He remained inside the old stone keep at the heart of Blackridge territory, a place built atop bones and law, where every alpha before him had ruled, and some had fallen. Guards stood watch at every entrance, though none were posted by Kael's command. They were there because the pack no longer knew what else to do. Outside, the land sickened. Trees near the western ruins shed their leaves despite the season. Streams ran sluggish and dark. Wolves refused to hunt alone. The pups cried in their sleep, waking with bloodied gums where their teeth had cut too deep. And beneath it all, the primal force stirred. No longer hidden, no longer patient. Waiting. On the 4th night, the elders demanded counsel. Kael did not refuse. He emerged at dusk, his face drawn tight, eyes shadowed as if sleep had abandoned him entirely. Fresh scars crossed his knuckles. He smelled of iron and old stone. The council chamber filled quickly. Torches flickered against the carved walls, illuminating symbols older than memory. Wolves crowned in flame, moons split in half, blood pooling at their feet. Ancient law. Ren stood at Kael's right, jaw set, hand resting on his blade. He had not left Kael's side since the confrontation, though the distance between them had grown heavy with unspoken questions. An elder stepped forward. Mara, oldest of them all, her back bent but her eyes sharp as frost. "We have waited," she said. "Longer than the law allows." Kael inclined his head. "Then speak." Mara's gaze did not waver. "The land is breaking. A primal force walks where none should. And it names you." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Kael closed his eyes. "I will tell you the truth," he said. Silence fell so complete it felt violent. "When I was young," Kael began, voice steady despite the storm beneath it, "I was not meant to be alpha." Ren turned sharply, surprise flashing across his face. "There was another," Kael continued. "Older, stronger, chosen by blood and omen." A name hovered on his tongue like poison. "I was the second son. The spare." The images came unbidden. Firelight. Snow-stained red. Howl cut short. "He was everything an alpha should be," Kael said. "And I was hungry." The elders listened, rigid. "There is an ancient right," Mara said slowly. "Forbidden. Known only to those who study the oldest laws." Kael met her gaze. "Yes." Ren's breath hitched. "What right?" Kael swallowed. "The right of severance." The words settled like ash. Mara's face drained of color. "That right binds a wolf's shadow. His discarded instincts, his darkest will, into a separate form. A murmur of horror swept the room. Kael nodded. It promises strength without restraint, power without conscience, and damnation without end, Mara finished. Kael's voice dropped. I was young, afraid of being nothing, afraid of watching my brother take everything I would never touch. His hands clenched. The night before the choosing, I performed the rite. Ren stared at him. You what? I told myself it was only preparation, Kael said bitterly. That I would never finish it. But the ritual does not care for intention. The memory broke free. The ruins, then whole, alive with power. Blood poured into carved channels. His brother's howl of pain and betrayal when Kael struck from the shadows, driven by something that was already no longer fully him. The shadow took form, Kael whispered. Fed by my fear, my envy, my rage. Mara's voice trembled. And your brother? Kael closed his eyes. He tried to stop it. The chamber held its breath. He died sealing the shadow beneath the ruins, Kael said. Bound to the land. Bound to me. A sob broke from one of the elders. Ren staggered back a step as if struck. You killed him. Yes. The word fell like a blade. I took his place. Took his name. Took his crown. Kael looked around the chamber now, meeting every gaze. And I buried the truth so deeply I almost believed it myself. Silence stretched. So everything we face now, a warrior spat, is because of you? Kael did not flinch. Yes. Rage erupted. Accusations. Wolves baring teeth at the alpha they once revered. You lied to us. You damned the land. You're no alpha, you're a curse. Ren raised his voice. Enough. The room quieted, but only barely. Mara stepped forward again, her expression carved from grief and steel. By ancient law, an alpha who invokes the right of severance forfeits his right to lead. Kael nodded. I know. You should be stripped of title, another elder said. Exiled. Executed, someone else snarled. Ren turned on them. He confessed. He stands before you unarmed and unshielded. And we stand before a monster wearing our alpha's face, came the reply. Kael lifted a hand. I will not contest the law, he said. But know this, whether I wear the crown or not, the shadow will come. It wants me. It wants what I denied it. And if you die? Mara asked. Kael's voice was quiet. Then it will finish what I started. The truth settled like a death sentence. Mara exhaled slowly. There is one path left. All eyes turned to her. The right of reclamation, she said. To reclaim the shadow, the alpha must face it willingly. Alone. Ren shook his head. That right kills more often than it saves. Mara nodded. Yes. Kael straightened. Then I will go. Ren grabbed his arm. You can't. I must. Kael turned to the pack. This was my sin. My burden. I will not let it devour you. The chamber erupted again, but Kael had already made his choice. As he walked from the hall, stripped not yet of title but of illusion, the land trembled once more. Far beneath the ruins, the primal force smiled without a face. Come, it whispered through stone and blood. Finish what you began. Kael left before dawn. No ceremony. No farewell. The Alpha's chambers were empty when Ren arrived. Bed untouched, armor gone, the scent of decision lingering thick in the air. Outside, the gate stood open, iron teeth pulled wide as if the keep itself had tried and failed to stop him. Ren swore under his breath. He's going to the ruins, Mara said behind him. Ren turned. The elder stood wrapped in gray furs, leaning heavier on her staff than usual. The land had aged her overnight. He knows the right, Ren said. He knows it requires solitude. Mara's eyes were dark. The law demands solitude. Redemption does not. Ren didn't hesitate. He signaled the horns. The pack fractured within minutes. Some wolves armed themselves immediately, faces set with grim resolve. Others stood frozen, torn between fury and fear. A few, too few, turned away entirely. "He killed his own blood," a warrior snarled. "Let him die alone. And doom us with him." Another shot back. "The shadow won't vanish if he falls." Ren climbed the stone steps, voice carrying like thunder. "Enough." The noise faltered. "Kael is guilty," Ren said. "That truth is carved in stone. But he is also our alpha. He has stood between this pack and extinction more times than I can count." He drew his blade and drove it point first into the ground. "I will not let him face the shadow alone." Silence followed. Then one wolf stepped forward. Then another. Then many. Not all, but enough. Kael reached the western ruins by nightfall. They loomed ahead, jagged stone half swallowed by earth, carved with symbols that burned faintly as he approached. The air was thick, oppressive, pressing against his chest like a held breath. He stopped at the threshold. This was where it began. This was where his brother died screaming his name. Kael removed his weapons and set them aside. No steel. No shield. Only will. He stepped inside. The ground pulsed beneath his feet. Blood, old and new, ran through the carved channels like veins reopening. The primal force stirred, its presence crawling across his skin like frostbite. "You came alone," the faceless voice echoed. Kael stood tall. As required. The shadows gathered, coalescing into that vast, hollow form. The wolf towered over him, featureless and endless. "You came afraid," it said. "Just like before." Kael lifted his chin. "No." The ground shook. "You came empty," the primal force hissed. "You tore me from yourself. You denied me purpose. You are my worst instincts," Kael snarled. "My cowardice. My hunger. And your truth," it replied. "I am what you refuse to be seen." Kael felt the weight of it. Every death, every ruthless choice he'd made as alpha, every time he'd silenced mercy in favor of survival. "You want to be whole?" the shadow asked. "Then bleed." Lunged. Pain unlike anything Kael had known tore through him. Memories slammed into his mind. His brother's face, twisted in betrayal. The moment Kael struck, the sickening relief afterward. Kael screamed. Claws of shadow raked through him. Not flesh but soul, peeling back layers he had buried for decades. Outside, the ruins howled. Ren and the pack arrived to chaos. The ground split. Stone collapsed inward. A shockwave threw wolves to their knees. "Alpha!" Ren shouted. "No," Mara said sharply. "If you cross that threshold, the right will fail." Ren clenched his fists. "Then we watch him die." Mara's voice softened. "We decide who we are." Inside, Kael fell to his knees. The shadow loomed. "You cannot reclaim me," it said. "You are not strong enough." Kael laughed, raw, broken. "You were born from my weakness," he said. "But you lived because I ran." He pushed himself upright, every muscle screaming. "I'm not running anymore." He opened himself. Not with force. With acceptance. The shadow recoiled. Kael felt it surge. Rage, cruelty, ambition. But this time he did not reject it. He held it. Let it burn through him. Outside, Mara lifted her staff. "The right is changing," she whispered. Inside, Kael roared, not in defiance but in agony, and pulled the shadow into himself. The faceless wolf screamed as form collapsed, darkness folding inward like a dying star. "You will destroy us both," it shrieked. "Then we end together," Kael replied. Light, brutal, blinding, erupted from the ruins. Wolves shielded their eyes as the earth split wide. And then, silence. Smoke curled from the ruins. Stone lay shattered. The land stilled. Ren ran forward. "Kael!" From the heart of the destruction, a figure moved. Barely standing. Bloodied. Scarred deeper than before. A hole. Kael emerged, eyes no longer burning amber, but something darker, steadier. He collapsed to one knee, breathing hard. Pack stared. Not at a monster. At a wolf who had walked into hell and dragged it back inside himself. Mara bowed her head. "The price has been paid," she said. But the land, still trembling, was not finished collecting. Kael did not rise again. Not at first. He knelt amid the ruins, blood soaking into stone that had already tasted too much of it. The air around him shimmered, charged, unstable, as if the land itself did not yet know whether to accept him or reject him. Ren reached him first. "Kael," he said softly, dropping to his knees. He did not touch him. "Not yet. Speak to me." Kael's breathing was shallow. Each inhale rattled, scraping against something broken deep in his chest. "I can feel it," Kael whispered. Ren leaned closer. "Feel what?" "Everything." The ground trembled. A sharp and sudden, split the earth behind them. Mara's staff struck stone. "It isn't over." The land screamed. From the fissure rose the last remnant of the primal force. Not whole, not faceless, but bleeding. Its form was fractured, incomplete, shadows peeling from it like rotting skin. "You cannot cage what was never meant to be whole," it snarled. Kael pushed himself upright, legs shaking. "I didn't cage you," he said. "I claimed you." The thing laughed, wet and broken. "You are dying." "Yes," Kael replied calmly. "And you are ending." The primal force surged, hurling itself toward the pack. Ren moved instantly, blade flashing. Wolves followed, howling, shifting, bodies colliding with shadow and stone. Claws tore. Blood sprayed. The night became a chaos of violence and desperation. But every strike only slowed it. Mara watched, horror dawning in her eyes. "It's anchored to him," she said. "As long as Kael lives, it will keep returning." Ren turned sharply. "Then what are you saying?" Mara's voice broke. "The right bound them together." Understanding hit like a blade. Ren looked at Kael. Kael already knew. He met Ren's gaze across the battlefield, blood streaking his face, eyes steady. "This is as far as I go." "No," Ren said hoarsely. "We'll find another way." "There is no other way," Kael said gently. "That's the price I owed." The primal force lunged again. Kael stepped forward. "Listen to me," he called to the pack, his voice carrying even through the roar of battle. "This ends now. You will not follow." Ren shook his head violently. "I won't let you." Kael smiled. "Not as an alpha. As a brother." "You already did," he said. He turned toward the fissure, toward the heart of the land, where blood and law and memory converged. The primal force shrieked as Kael reached out, not with claws, not with fangs, but with will. He seized it, pulled it into himself, and stepped into the abyss. The earth folded shut. Stone crashed together. Light flared once, brilliant, terrible, and then silence. No howl followed, no scream, only the wind. Dawn came slowly. The land breathed again. Dreams cleared, trees stilled. The oppressive weight lifted, leaving exhaustion in its wake. Wolves emerged from hiding, wounded but alive, staring at the scar where the ruins once stood. Ren knelt at the edge of the sealed stone. "Alpha," he whispered. There was no answer. Mara approached, her steps unsteady. She placed her hand over the stone. "The land accepts the sacrifice," she said. "But it does not return what it takes." Ren bowed his head. The pack gathered behind him, silent, grieving, changed. Kael's crown was found later, cracked, blood-stained. They buried it beneath the old oak, where the pack first settled generations ago. No alpha was named that day, or the next. Leadership came slowly after that, shared, cautious, scarred. Ren never took the title. He guarded instead. Remembered. They told the pups the truth. Not a legend polished clean, but a warning. That power without truth rots. That leadership demands memory. That redemption is not survival. Sometimes, it is surrender. On certain nights when the moon hangs low and red, wolves swear they hear a steady heartbeat beneath the earth. Not restless. Not angry. touching, holding. Alpha Kael did not walk into myth. He became the boundary.